Johnsen of Keynote Consulting. Steve will be training on how to make your website your #1 enterprise. Steve Johnsen is a well-known business growth strategist and expert, and the founder of Keynote Consulting, which helps small businesses become more profitable using technology. Steve has been using the internet since the early 1980s and was building websites before most people had heard of the World Wide Web. Steve's unique approach to business and technology has earned him the title of the Website Income Strategist. Having built many successful multi-million-dollar businesses throughout his 24-year career, Steve helps business clients build or turn around their businesses using the most effective technology methods. Steve will be speaking on how to make your website your #1 employee.
How many of you have a great product or service, but you're frustrated because nobody can find you online? How many of you have spent time and money on a website and then been really disappointed by the results? How many of you would like to have your website become your #1 employee? Hi, I'm Steve Johnsen, founder of Cumulus Consulting and #1employee.com. And in the next 40 minutes, I'm going to tell you how you can have a website that actually grows your business, that actually works hard for you to make you money online. Now, I know when I stand up here to speak about websites, some of you may be thinking, oh no, here comes another IT guy coming to speak geek to us. And some of you may have a preconceived notion that a web guy ought to look like that. Yes, that is me back in the late 70s. And I was speaking to Gary Barnes, who's one of the other presenters here at Revenue North, and he said to me, you know, Steve, you look like a typical geek, but you're actually a geek with a personality. So I promise that I won't speak geek to you. And I may have looked a little bit geeky back then, but now I've grown up into a really handsome guy. Over the last couple of years, I've been awarded the job title of Website Income Strategist. And I explained to my kids over and over again what my job title was, Website Income Strategist, and they just couldn't remember it until I gave them an acronym, WIS. WIS, then they could remember it. So my daughter's sitting in school, and her teacher says to her, what does your father do? And she said, oh, I know, my daddy's a wuss. Thanks, kid. Well, you probably are also wondering, why should you listen to Steve? What's so special about what I have to say? Well, I can tell you most of my career has been as an executive in high-tech, high-growth startups. I've grown a number of multi-million-dollar businesses, and I actually have been involved in the technology a long time. I started out programming on these machines, went on to develop software on these, and then when the World Wide Web was launched in 1993, at the end of the year, I was building websites in '94 and doing search engine optimization before Google was around and before most people had heard of the World Wide Web. And what I've found over the years is that so many people have spent time and money and energy building a website hoping that somehow magically it's going to make money for their business. And very often, as I hear from a lot of people, that's not the case. But what I want to tell you today is it doesn't have to be that way. I want to tell you how you can have a website that actually is your #1 employee and works at growing your business. So just a quick survey. How many of you have a website? Raise your hand. Okay, how many of you work for a company that has a website? How many of you have seen a website? Okay, very good. Now there's a really important question for all of us who have a business website, and that is, what's happening on your website right now? Right now, as we're speaking in this room, what's going on your website?
Just sitting there.
Okay, so I heard a few people commenting around the room. This. So many people tell me You know, I've got this website and I was hoping it would grow my business, but absolutely nothing is happening. Well, again, I will tell you, it doesn't have to be that way. Now, when I talk about an employee, I'm not sure what you all think of. If you think of, when I say your website can be your #1 employee, I don't know if you think of an employee like this. It's a management headache or a cost or a liability. Or if possibly you think of an employee as someone who is working hard for you to grow your business. When I talk about your website being your #1 employee, I'm talking about having an employee just like this, who's working hard to make you money, working hard to grow your business. Experienced business owners know the rule of thumb that when you hire an employee, that person should generate value for your business at least 3 times their salary. And for a sales and marketing employee, that figure should be even higher. So your website can be an employee that's working for you. The only difference between your website and this employee is your website should work for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, without calling in sick and without taking a vacation. Okay, just working hard for you to bring you new contacts, new leads, new revenue, new sales, and new business. Another clarification before we go on. I know that there are a lot of claims out there about, make money in your sleep or how much you can make online with internet marketing. And there's a lot of different gimmicks out there. What I'm going to share with you today is not the latest gimmick that I learned in some seminar. It's not some trick, but these are things that I've actually done. These are things that I've actually used in building multi-million-dollar businesses so that I know that they will actually work for you too. Okay? So, maybe the best way to illustrate your website being your #1 employee is to tell you a story about a client. This was a publishing company that had spent maybe a little over $25,000 on building a website. It's very elaborate, actually a very nice looking website. And after all that time and money and effort, their website was earning a few $100, less than $1,000 a year in sales. Now, if you think about it as a business owner and consider the return on investment. Return on investment is you put some money in, you hope to get more back, right? So when you're spending $25,000 and getting less than $1,000 back, that's a very, very negative ROI. What we did for this company is we built them a new website at a tiny fraction of the cost of their original site. The new website, within a few months of launch, had earned $40,000. Pretty soon it passed the $100,000 mark. And then within a year, year and a half, it was well over $1 million in revenue for their business. How many of you would like an extra $1 million a year? Yeah. All right. So what was the difference between the old website and the new website? That's what I'm going to share with you today. This publishing company had bought into what I call the 5 common myths that many business owners have concerning websites. And there are some handouts throughout the room. If you haven't gotten one, probably somewhere on your aisle. So these 5 common myths cost businesses a lot of money. It's like flushing money down the toilet. The first myth is, I need a website. Now, I know that sounds a little funny coming from me, a web guy, but I would maintain that what you need is not a website. What you need is a profitable business. Your website's simply a tool to make your business profitable. Your website's simply a tool to grow your business. So when people come to me and say, I need a website, my first question is why? Why do you need a website? What do you want it to do? Let's figure out, how your website can grow your business. Because if you don't know what you're aiming at, if you don't know what the goal is, it's impossible to build a website that accomplishes that goal. The second myth is this, that websites are expensive. And believing that websites are expensive often causes people to underspend, fear of committing too much money, or it also causes them to overspend. So they'll spend a lot of money. This publishing company spent a lot of money on their website, but without getting much back. They expected to spend a lot, but they weren't expecting the return. So I've got a trick question for you all. Which is more expensive, a $900 website that makes $100 a year, or a $6,000 website that makes $100,000 a year? Yeah, the first one's more expensive. Now, when you look at things as a consumer, hey, I want a new TV, then I'm going to shop around and see where I can get that TV for the best price. But as a business owner, what's important is not the price tag. What's important is the return on your investment. So I've built a $150,000 website that makes millions of dollars in profit for the business. It's worth it. It's not about the price tag. And again, how many would like that extra $100,000 a year? If you know you're going to get a website that's going to make you that kind of money, you find the $6,000 to build the site. Myth number 3, looks are everything. We know this isn't true for people. We know it's not true for frogs. It's also not true for websites. Now, don't get me wrong. Looks are extremely important when it comes to a website. The visual design of the website, the way your website looks, communicates your brand. It communicates your company's personality. And it will help people to make a decision whether or not they want to do business with you. I've had so many people tell me, I was considering buying from this company, but then I looked at their website and decided I didn't want to. Why is that? People make instant judgments based on the look of your website. So it is important to have a good visual design. But with this publishing company, their website was beautiful. It was really nice looking site. But the code that the pages were written in was code that the search engines couldn't read. So therefore, their pages weren't getting ranked, and when people were doing searches for their products, nobody could find them. So sometimes I meet people at networking events and I tell them, they ask, what do you do? And I say, well, I build websites that actually make money online. And sometimes people ask, well, what colors do you use? And I think, you didn't hear what I said. It's like I said, I build sports cars that go really fast, and you're asking, what color is the paint? It's not the paint color that really makes the website effective, right? It's what goes on under the hood. The fourth myth, we have to put everything on the website. This publishing company had hundreds of products in many, many different categories. And when you first land on the site, your first impression is, wow, that looks really nice. And your second impression is, where do I go to find what I'm looking for? It was very, very hard to navigate. People couldn't find things, and it had no search function. Okay? So, sometimes in designing a web page, less is more. Sometimes less is more. But the most important thing is that you want to create a user experience. You want your web page to guide people through a process of what to do and to find what they're looking for and to engage with you. So you don't need to put everything there. You need to make it a great user experience. Myth number 5, build it and they will come. This poor cat has been waiting there a long time. People build a website and then just sit back and wait for something to happen. It's sort of like registering a business name and printing up some business cards and getting a phone line and waiting for the phone to ring. It doesn't work that way. You have to have a marketing plan for your business. Well, the same way with your website. You have to have a plan in place. How are you going to get people on the site so that they can engage with you? So here are the 5 myths. Now, on the other side, I'd also like to share with you 5 truths about building a website. And here we get into the real meat of the presentation. The first truth is this: Start with your purpose. Start with your purpose. Again, if you don't know what you're aiming at, you won't hit the target. So the first thing to decide when you're building a website is exactly what you want. Somebody knows what he wants. Okay, websites can make money a lot of different ways. You have to figure out what's appropriate for your business. Websites can sell products. They can generate leads. You can have some type of information service on your website. It can be an advertising model. Your website can simply exist for branding and credibility. But regardless of what your site's purpose is, you need to know what that is so you can design a site that fulfills that purpose. The second truth is use a measuring stick. If we've built a site to accomplish a purpose, we want to know, are we achieving that purpose? And with the internet, we have great technologies and tools that can tell you how many people are visiting your website, where did they come from, what did they search on to find you, how long did they spend there, what pages did they visit, and what order did they visit the pages. And if you've got a website to generate leads for your business, when you answer the phone, you have to say, how did you find us? Because if you don't ask, you don't know. Third truth is follow a proven formula. There are some very specific things that every effective website, every website that makes money has in common. And so when you're building a site, you want to follow a formula for building your site. All websites that make money have a clear goal. They have a clear focus. They offer a valuable product or service or valuable information. And they get traffic, and then they convert that traffic into customers or leads or whatever it is you're looking for. Now, sometimes people ask me, is there any kind of business that you cannot help? And I say, yes, people that sell these or these. If you don't have a viable product or service, or you don't have a viable business, then I don't know how much help I can be. But if you do have a real business, if you do have a good product or service, your website can definitely become your #1 employee. At Cumulus, when we're building websites, we follow what we call the Cumulus Quattro, and this is a formula that I've developed over the years in building websites. And the basic premise of the Cumulus Quattro is, and you've got a spot on your handout to fill this in, the basic premise is that an effective website is well designed in 4 dimensions. The first dimension is visual. And this is what I was talking about earlier. The visual design of your website is very, very important. Okay, it is only one of 4, but it is very, very important. Again, your design communicates your brand, who you are, and it will make people decide whether or not they like you, whether or not they want to do business with you. Now, I couldn't cram a whole bunch of different web designs on one slide, so I put up some logos to illustrate the difference. There's a common misconception about what constitutes good design. Now, up at the top left here, we have some homemade logos. And these are actual logos that people, I changed the name, but these are actual logos that people had on their business card that they were using, to advertise their business. Went out to, stole a picture from Google Images, slapped a name on it, and now instant homemade logo. Well, it's not that visually appealing, and of course may not be legal, but also it doesn't say anything unique about your business. There's nothing memorable about those. Then on the right, we have logos that look nice. And a lot of people, when they think of good design, they think, oh, it's got to look nice. And it does need to look nice, but that's not what it's all about. Because I can tell you, all of these logos in this group will break down when you switch them from color to black and white. They'll break down when you shrink them down too small or blow them up too large. Good logos are iconic. They're instantly recognizable, they're memorable, they can be printed at large size in color, small size in black and white, they can be etched in glass and they still work. Okay? So there's a lot of thought and a lot of experience that goes into good design. With websites, we see the same thing. You know, here's what looks to me like a homemade web design. You know, somebody got a computer program and put some text together, and we've got a website. Here's another one that looks pretty homemade, images slapped all over the place. Okay? And then we can go a step up, and we have what I call templated designs. So there's all kinds of programs out there. You pick a template, you fill in the blanks, and you have an instant website. But it does look like a template. And this one isn't even filled out all that well. You know, the line breaks are in the wrong place and everything. You know, this is a much nicer template, but when you go through the site, you realize this is still a template that we're looking at that somebody populated. Professional design is not just designed to look nice, but it's designed to communicate your brand. This is for a label company. Everything on the page looks like labels. The big image on this website communicates the feeling of the brand, quiet clarity. And then we have this website. These were really cute little tote bags, and we wanted to build a site that communicated the personality of the product. So actually the whole website is in the shape of a bag, and the bag folds up into the little animals up at the top. This is a great web design. It's designed to do one thing, make you hungry. Here's another good web design. Okay, so these are all professional designs. Brad's an auctioneer and a production company, so this website makes it look like he's up on stage. And here's a product that was developed for the transportation industry. Okay, and a green product too. Okay, another good web design instantly communicates its purpose. What's it about? This guy's a photographer. It's showcasing his photography. Okay, the second dimension that a site needs to be well designed in is the verbal dimension. Good copy on your web pages, having an irresistible offer, telling a story that people connect with. You can have a very pretty website, but if your copy doesn't appeal, people aren't going to buy from you. So you want professional copy that really showcases how good you are, and that makes people feel like you're somebody they want to do business with. Here's an example of a website that did the copy right. You see the 3 questions up at the top. You look at this site and you know instantly, I mean, if you're somebody with a sleep apnea or sleep problems, you know instantly this is the site for me. This is where I want to be. And it's just done with those short copy, those 3 questions up at the top. Okay, so you want to tell your story. And I would say that probably in all the websites that I build, the most challenging thing is when customers are writing their own copy. Often they will struggle with it. So I would say very often you need to get some really good help in writing your copy and identifying what is the message that you want to communicate to your audience. The third dimension that websites need to be well designed in is the functional dimension. And this is what I alluded to earlier, creating the user experience. So a good design is not just about looking good, but it's about directing the reader's eye to where you want them to go. It's about getting them using subtle cues, even subliminal suggestions, getting them to take a certain action and guiding them through the process on the website. Referencing back to that publishing company, having a search function for all those hundreds of products would be an important function. Making it really clear how to browse the different product categories would be very, very important for the user experience. How many of you have been on a website to buy a product and you're frustrated with the checkout? How many have abandoned the cart because you're so frustrated with? Wow, that's a lot of people. Okay, so the functional design is very, very important to the website. Here's an example of of what not to do with functional design. First of all, the designer created this site on a monitor that was this big. And so the average user with a monitor somewhere in this size range only saw a quarter of the home page. Not only that, the whole home page consisted of this huge flash presentation that was I don't know how many megabytes and took about 2 minutes to download. So you go to the home page and you're looking at a black screen for 2 minutes waiting for the home page to download. How many people stuck around on that site? 30 seconds. Yeah, right. You have actually about 3 or 4 seconds to get people's attention when they land on your page. If you haven't got them within 3 or 4 seconds, they're gone. Now, this homepage loaded fine, but this is a site that was created to sell chocolate fountains. And one thing you notice is when you land on this is, where do I go to buy the fountains? So it's not really clear how to browse the site. I mean, it looks nice and it's organized, but it's not clear how to browse it. And they've since updated that with a much better homepage design. Okay, so Seth Godin has a book, The Big Red Fez. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. Seth's a great author, and that's a fantastic book about web design. And he has this illustration in it about monkeys and training monkeys. And when you're training monkeys, you always have to show the monkey the banana. So he says, web visitors are like monkeys, and every web page they land on, you have to show them the banana. So my question about this design is, where's the banana?
Chocolate banana.
Now here's a site that got functional design really right. This is Dell, and they're here to sell you a computer. Okay, so they've got this image slider, rotating image banner with 5 different options of what you're shopping for. And still, if you're not in the category, if you're not in the market shopping for one of these featured products, you can still go up to their very easy to find menu, and whether I'm a large enterprise or a small business customer or home user, whatever, I can find exactly what I'm looking for very, very quickly. So it's an excellent, excellent website from a functional design standpoint. The most important factor in web design is make it easy to use. If it's beautiful and people can't use it, they'll leave. If it looks okay, but people can find what they're looking for, you probably keep more of them. But I say it's better to do both. Okay, the last dimension that the site needs to be really well designed in is the technical dimension. This is the nerdy, geeky stuff. Don't get scared. Okay? This is what goes on under the hood. And your website, a modern website, consists of a number of different layers. You have the visual design that's apparent to the user. This is what the user sees when they come to the site. Behind that design, you've got code. You've got HTML and CSS code, which is your markup, which describes, oh, sorry, I've skipped the copy. Okay, so you've got the copy, that's the words that go with the design, that go in the web page. Then you've got your markup, which is the code that the page is written in for the browser to display in a certain way. And then behind the markup, most websites also have a back-end content management system that's generating the markup code, that's generating the image that you see on the screen. And you need to get all of these right. You can have the same website, exact same web page. It looks the same visually, but the code behind it is radically different. And you can have the exact same code, but just with a little CSS tweaks, the design, the visual impression can be radically different. So they're actually very, very independent layers. When I talk about code, if you go in your browser, up at the top in the menu, there's an option to view the source code or view code. If you do that, take a look at the code on your website. And bad code looks something like this. Can you read that? Maybe a programmer could figure it out. But I'll tell you a little secret. The search engines can't read that either. So this page is never going to get listed in any search results because of the way the code is written. Good code looks like this. Yeah, there's some little things in there that you might not know what they are, but most of the stuff in a page that is well coded is readable to a human being in plain English, assuming it's an English language website. Okay, so the code is very, very important. Where you're hosted is also quite important. I've achieved dramatic results in search engine rankings from nowhere to first page by changing the code and moving to a new web server. Okay? The hosting makes a big, big difference. On a lot of the popular hosting platforms, you know, they're really built for websites that are not going to get a lot of traffic. And that's the only way those hosting companies work. Another factor in, you know, how the hosting affects you is who are you hosted along with. You can do a check on your domain name and see who else is hosted on your server at the same IP address. You know, here's an insurance company website. It's hosted on a server at the same IP address with almost 4,000 other domains. Some of them are, you know, porn and spam and all kinds of other stuff. So how do you think the search engine looks at you when you're sitting in that kind of a neighborhood? The other way that hosting can really affect you is by the speed. You know, when the search engine comes through and indexes your site, they'll load all the pages in 2 seconds. If you have a big site and you're on a slow server, those servers are throttled, meaning, you know, it's like the limiter on your car. You can only go 10 miles an hour. So if you're in the parking lot, you might not notice, but as soon as somebody hits your site with a lot of requests, it won't load. So therefore, it really affects your search engine rankings. The fourth truth. Perspective matters. Let's have a little fun here. How you're looking at the website and your experience in looking at the website can make a big, big difference. Are those coffee beans moving? They're actually not. They're stationary, but it's a really cool illusion. Perspective. So what animal is this right here? It's a what? Frog and a horse. How old is the lady? If you look at both of these, depending on how you look at it, you can see a lot of different things. One of the handouts that you should have gotten today is an offer as a special bonus for everyone who came to the presentation today. If you turn in this sheet, sorry, let me grab it. I've got a book that's coming out this summer, 5 Easy Steps to Make Your Website Your #1 Employee. Everybody who turns in the sheet today in this room will get a free advance copy of my book when it comes out. So be sure to get this in. The reason I wrote the book is to give business owners, to give web developers perspective on what makes a website actually work to grow your business and to make you money. Okay, another common mistake that people make in building websites is to either go the cheap route or, you know, to go the cheap free route. Now, you can get a free website and you can get a really, really cheap website, but very often you're not only wasting your money, it can even take you in a negative direction. Remember this car? Everybody needs a Yugo.
You go nowhere.
That's right, David. You go nowhere. Thanks. So, you know, sometimes, you want your website to be your #1 employee. If you're going to go out and hire a salesperson, do you go as cheap as possible? You'll not only be wasting your money, you'll be hurting your business in the long run. So you want to get the best person for the job. Again, it's not about the price tag. And we've built some, very inexpensive websites, low price tag websites that are very, very effective at growing your business. But it's really about what will get the job done and give you the return on investment. The other side of that is to go expensive. I've talked to people that have spent $30,000 building a website that does nothing. I've talked to people that spend $70,000, and more recently somebody has spent about $100,000 on a website. Didn't need to be. He spent $100,000 on a $20,000 website that wasn't finished. Now, if you think websites are expensive, try getting triplets. Another thing that will hurt you, a very common mistake, is to sign on to some of these gimmicks. I get an email every day offering to put me on 10,000 directories or quality rankings, or if you pay us $5, we'll guarantee 1,000 visitors to your Facebook page. And what's that going to do for me? So some of these gimmicks won't do anything for you, but some of these gimmicks can actually hurt. And I've helped a number of clients who have bought into some low-cost SEO programs that actually got them banned from the search engines. And so then we had to work hard to get them back on. The fifth truth is have a game plan. When you launch a website, it's not good enough to build it and they will come. You want to have a plan in place for getting people to the site. You also want your website to be part of an overall comprehensive marketing plan. Okay, your website is one piece of marketing for your business, and it should work well with your entire program. Okay, so one of the questions that you need to ask before you build your website is, how am I going to get people there? After we've decided what we're going to do and we're going to design it right, how will I get people to my website? You can consider your website as a funnel. I don't know if you're familiar with the AIDA sales funnel concept that was developed in the late 19th century. But it's the concept that sales is like a funnel. Tom Ninnis is giving a presentation this afternoon on sales. You all have to be there. He is the sales guru. But sales is like a funnel, and first people become aware of your product or service, then they become interested in your product or service, then they develop a desire for it, and finally they take some action. Your website is the same thing. It's a funnel. And people are going to become aware of your site, land on it, and hopefully come through this funnel process and become a customer. So they start by visiting your site, then browsing around, then they're looking at your product, they're looking at your service offering in more detail, and finally taking some action to purchase, subscribe, contact you, whatever. Okay, when you build a website, the code, the technical aspects, the hosting of the website, can be a barrier if it's done wrong. It can be a barrier that keeps people from coming to your site, that keeps people away. Or it can become a magnet that draws people into your website. So it's something you want to get done right. And then there are a lot of different ways to fill that funnel. What are some different ways to get people onto your website? Just shout out some ideas here.
Give something away.
Give something away.
Blogging.
Blogging.
Social media.
Social media.
Networking.
Networking. AdWords.
Write articles.
Write articles. Article marketing. Search engine optimization. There's all kinds, email marketing. There's all kinds of ways to get people onto your site. Okay? And so your game plan may involve one or probably more than one of these methods. It may involve all of them. It may not. It depends on what's appropriate for your business. And then each of those items, there's a lot of different things that go into SEO. All kinds of different factors. There's all kinds of factors that go into, paid search, paid advertising. all kinds of things that go into email marketing and making your email marketing more effective. So you've suddenly got a lot of balls in the air when you're marketing yourself online. Does it feel like you're juggling a bunch of different balls, or does it feel like everything's falling apart? Okay? What if all of these different elements were to line up to generate money for your business online? That's what it's really all about at the end of the day. Okay? So you want a strategy or multiple strategies for getting people to your site, optimize your site to get them through that funnel to engage with you, and ultimately to produce revenue at the end of the day. Okay, I've done, in my career as an executive and a number of different businesses, I've done all kinds of marketing from trade shows to direct mail to traditional advertising, et cetera, et cetera. What I've found is that making your website your #1 employee is by far the most cost-effective way to market most businesses. It's the marketing strategy with the highest ROI, generating more leads per dollar and more highly qualified leads per dollar than many other marketing methods. So, as the froggy said, time's fun when you're having flies. I wanted to save, what time is it? We've got about 7 minutes left. So I wanted to save just a couple minutes at the end of the presentation here for questions and answers. One of the things that I do at Cumulus is provide perspective and provide help with building websites. Some of the perspective comes from the book that we're putting out, comes from the boot camps and other types of presentations that we do. But anyway, be sure to get these forms into me before you leave, and we've got about 5-7 minutes left for questions.
Can you touch on mobile websites for a moment?
Yeah, absolutely. So specifically, what about mobile websites?
Well, just as far as it's sort of taking off in the past few years. I see a lot of websites shifting over to mobile.
Right.
Because, the majority of people who are visiting websites are doing so on their mobile devices. So as far as how these techniques, how it's slightly different maybe in the mobile.
Right. So when you've got a mobile device and they are, it is becoming much more popular. I think the latest surveys are showing still about 70-80% are browsing on a traditional PC, but mobile devices globally are taking over. They're taking over in the US, and more people are browsing on mobile exclusively or on both. So when you build a website, there's 2 techniques to do this. One is to build 2 versions of your site, and then the server can detect if somebody's browsing on a mobile device or somebody's browsing on a traditional PC and display an appropriate version of your website. Another way is to build a website that is what we call mobile responsive, where the sizes of everything automatically slide around and adjust to fit exactly what you're seeing. When you're on a mobile device, you've got a very small screen, and so you can fit the same layout there that you would on a PC, but it may not look as good. So, it depends on exactly what you're doing with it, but the design approach will vary depending on who you want to reach and how you want them to interact with you on your website. Yes, ma'am.
Say, when you're talking about code on the backside, if you haven't invested in a professional website developer and you've utilized, the WordPress or the templates that
Right.
hosting companies offer, is that a dead zone, or are they still receptive?
Yeah, most template systems that I've seen are not good to use. The only one that really works is WordPress. Okay, so WordPress is the only, you can do it yourself, install a template or a theme, and it generates good code that's readable by the search engines.
One other point, when you're talking about hosting,
Mm-hmm.
are you better to go to a small, difference? Maybe talk
Well, it's not necessarily the size of the company offering the hosting, but it's the amount of resources that they allocate and the quality of service. I mean, we offer hosting for our clients because we want their website to be their #1 employee. And so, you know, some of the popular hosting companies, they advertise unlimited bandwidth, unlimited space, unlimited everything. Well, bandwidth costs money, and disk space costs money. It costs a lot more money on a web server than it does on your home PC. So the only way they can offer unlimited is if they have thousands of people who are unsuccessful with their marketing. And it's like offering unlimited beer at the pub on a Friday night, but you can only get a thimbleful at a time, and you have to wait into a 30-minute line to get that thimbleful. So it's just hard.
recommend you looking for a host?
Cumulus. I'm not supposed to sell here, but hey, back of the room.
I just wanted to comment, as a marketing consultant that actually puts stuff out to you guys, I actually orchestrate the process. The #1 mistake I always see people using is traditional marketing, and I mean, I talk to agile stuff all the time, I'm like, why aren't you coaching your clients? They're not using landing pages enough so that you can track your analytics on the back end. So a lot of what I see is, yeah, they'll put their web address in, but so what? And then everybody's funneling to that same page, and you cannot sift out who's there for what. So, I mean, do you want to speak about landing pages a little bit and how those can enhance?
Sure, what's my time? 1 minute. Okay, so 1 minute on landing pages. So a landing page is a page usually with a special design, maybe have very, very focused copy, so that when people land on that page, they know they're in the right place, and you have maybe a longer opportunity to capture their attention. So instead of sending people to your home page where they browse around the site, you send them to a page that's specific for the product that you're talking about or the service that you're talking about. And that is a very, it's part of that comprehensive planning of what is this website for, how am I going to do it, and then planning how you're going to build it. Hey, we've got a booth way it's the last booth on the right, down at the other end of the building. So come by the booth if you have more questions, come talk to us, come check us out.
And as Steve gathers his gear, he'll step to the back to continue Q&A and to exchange business cards, etc. But please join me in thanking Steve for his 15 minutes.
Thank you.
Yeah. And again, my name's Steven. I'm with the My Live Business Alliance. If you want to learn more about what it is we do in the Denver community, I'll be right over here to talk to you. So thanks again.